I want everyone to sit back and think for a moment. I want you to take notice of something. Every non-human entity that we have a name for, they all have something in common. Do you know what that is? Anybody? What they have in common is that they are all elusive. Let me tell you what I mean. If you entered a haunted house, you wouldn't expect to see Bigfoot now, would you? Of course not. You would expect to see an apparition, a shadowy figure, a ghost. You would expect there to be poltergeist activity with doors opening and closing, objects moving, flying across the room. What is it that you would expect to see out in the country? Maybe some strange lights coming from the forest, orbs, right? And when you're in the forest, what do you expect to see there? Bigfoot? Some strange animal-like creature? What would you expect to see in the sky? UFOs? Dragons, maybe? What would you expect to see in the waters? Mermaids, right? You see, people expect to sight these beings in their respective environments, and therefore, that is the form or shape that these entities appear to them. And they always end up only giving them a glimpse. All these entities play the same tricks. They only allow you to see them for a very short period of time. Just enough time to lure you. The Mothman. Oh yeah, you want to go there? We'll go there. And then hopefully we can all have a better understanding of what people are witnessing in this world of the strange and bizarre. In the small town of Clendenin, in Kanawha County, Charleston, West Virginia, there is a cemetery, Kuntz Cemetery. And on November 12, 1966, Kenneth Duncan and 4 other men were digging a grave for his father-in-law when he spotted what appeared to be a brown humanoid being suddenly fly out of some nearby trees. Now, the other men did not see the creature before it flew off, and the witness states that it was gliding through the trees, in sight, for about a minute. It wasn't until the Scarberry sighting, 3 days later, that Duncan would decide to report his encounter. 2 couples, Steve and Mary Mallette, and Roger and Linda Scarberry, were traveling around midnight in the Scarberry's vehicle. As they were passing the West Virginia Ordnance Works, an abandoned World War II TNT factory, they noticed something near an old generator plant. 2 glowing red lights. So like any normal human being that is minding their business, they stopped the car. Only to discover, of course, that it was not 2 red glowing lights. It was 2 red glowing eyes, attached to what looked like a 6 to 7 foot tall man with large wings folded up on its back. So what did they do? They took off. What did it do? Well, it took off after them. They claimed it chased them at speeds of around 100 miles per hour, and it didn't seem to flap its wings, which appeared to be 10 feet across. As the couples fled in Roger's '57 Chevy at speeds of over 100 miles per hour, they could see the creature flying over the car. At one point, the creature was on top of the vehicle, and when it did flap its wings, it would hit the sides of the car, leaving scratches on the doors and roof. After they reported this to the authorities, the sheriff gave a press conference, giving rise to the name Mothman. Keep in mind, not everyone who has a sighting reports it, and these were not the only 2 sightings around this area. There were several. There was a sighting near the Ohio River a year earlier in 1965. by a woman and her father who claimed to have seen a large human-like figure step out into the road. As they slowed down the car, the figure spread two large wings and flew away. Between the two main sightings in West Virginia, there was another sighting on November 14th, 1966, when a Salem resident and his dog spotted two red glowing objects hovering above a field. The dog takes off into the field and is never heard from again. Now at this point, it is pretty obvious that this thing is going around terrorizing folks. So what do the townspeople do? Well, after the Scarberry incident, on the next day, November 16th, they take some armed men and search the area around the old factory. But they found nothing and the sightings would continue on. I mean sighting after sighting, until early December. When you read through the reports, it's almost as if these people were under siege. But it just was not presented to the rest of the public as such. So fast forward to 1967. We have just a few Mothman sightings in the same areas throughout the year, and then something happened. There was a bridge built in 1928 that connected Gallipolis, Ohio to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, across the Ohio River. An I-bar chain suspension bridge, sealed with aluminum paint, earning it the name the Silver Bridge. And on December 15th, 1967, at around 5 p.m., one of the I-bar links failed, causing the bridge to collapse, and 37 cars and trucks plunged into the Ohio River, killing 46 people. 2 of the bodies were never recovered. Now someone had to be to blame for this. I know. I bet you the hairs on my Aunt Pearlie's chin, it was that no-good, low-down, dirty, flea-bitten Mothman. And so this is one of the reasons why people attribute something bad happening with the sightings of the Mothman. And you know what? They are not too far off with that theory. I have to say that 1966 is what I like to call a year of horror. Aside from the Mothman sightings, there were numerous plane crashes and people going nuts. In July of that year, there was Richard Speck of Chicago, who murdered 8 nurses. In August, there was Charles Whitman, who killed his mother and wife, then went to the observation tower at the University of Texas, killed 3 people inside, and 16 more from the observation deck. The Texas Tower Sniper, they called him. How about Robert Smith of Arizona, who on the very same day as the Gravedigger's Mothman sighting, on the same day of a total solar eclipse, November 12, 1966, went to a local beauty school because he knew it would be filled with women and children, and decided to execute anyone he could find, taking 7 hostages and killing 5 of them before being arrested. One of the survivors was an infant. He was given the death penalty, and one of the craziest things many people do not know about the story, however, is that Smith initially went to the beauty school to kill at least 40 people. But to his surprise, there were only a handful of people left in the building. He just wanted to make a name for himself, he said. Now I know what you're thinking. What does any of this have to do with the Mothman? Well, it's not just the Mothman. It's anything close to the description. Hat Man, Shadow People, Slender Man, the Men in Black. These things are attracted to madness. They are attracted to tragedy and negative energy, death. This is why you hear of similar sightings of the same old things at places like Chernobyl and Fukushima. You see, animals, you know what? Do you know when a photograph is taken of some rare species of animal? You can see it, can't you? It's in focus. You can make out details. You can identify the animal. But not with these cryptids, no. The photos, the videos, they are always out of focus and blurry. Why is that? You think it's the camera? It's not the camera. It's a seduction game. These entities only want to give you a taste, a glimpse. Just enough to where your imagination can fill in the details later based upon what you've already seen in images and in movies. Now, why do these evil spirits do this? Can you guess why? Think about it. What do people do? They sight some mysterious creature, They report it, they put it in the news, they investigate it, they hunt it, and here's the funny part. They never end up finding it, so it becomes a legend, and they just start worshiping it. Bigfoot, aliens, Mothman, they all have fan clubs. They have expos, festivals, celebrations, museums in honor of these beings. And these people have no idea what they are doing. Yeah, I know, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, that is. Or until they start sacrificing people to these entities. Oh, but they already do that, don't they? These entities have been doing this to every civilization that has ever existed. And these ancient people's beliefs in similar gods and monsters goes worldwide. Why are they similar? Why do all these ancient stories begin to sound all the same? And yes, these entities want you to fear them. That is why the sight of them is never pleasant. That is a control tactic that works very well. It is a tactic to get you to believe that they are stronger than you, that they are smarter than you, that they are more powerful than you. They want you to believe that if you don't start worshiping them, then bad things will happen. So they take on all these different forms, depending on who they allow to see them. Think about it. Where you have Bigfoot sightings, you also have UFO sightings, and other paranormal activity. What if they are all just the same beings in different forms, all exposing themselves to us for the same agenda, to get us to fall with them? So it's 2017, and the Mothman is back, baby. The sightings have started up again this year, and this time, he's touring Chicago. Yes, there have been well over 20 sightings there, with one of the first sightings involving a floating, glowing green orb. I do not believe this to be an owl or bat. The largest owl in the world, the great gray owl, is only half the size of the being described. A flying fox would fit the description better, but it still does not size up. I don't know why Mothman is there anyway. You don't need him to tell you something bad is going to happen in Chicago. But I have no doubt that these sightings are significant in some manner, as I still have more information to look into. There has already been a sighting of the Grinning Man this year in Tennessee. Oh yeah, the Grinning Man. The tall, suited, bald, slit-eyed, ear-to-ear grinning entity that showed up in New Jersey during the time of the Mothman sightings in 1966. The same entity that confronted a salesman around Point Pleasant, Woodrow Derenberger. This entity, this alien, spoke to Derenberger and called himself Indrid Cold. Many people believe that all this was hyped up by parapsychologist and author John A. Keel, the author of the 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, which was adapted into the 2002 movie, The Mothman Prophecies, starring Richard Gere. Whatever or whoever this dark entity is, let's just hope it's nothing like the Creeper. You know, the flying hatted demon from Jeepers Creepers? The thing that showed up to devour human flesh for 23 days every 23rd spring? Now that's just fiction, folks, and we all know that the truth is much, much stranger.